All right, so we're now joined by Jalen Green, former JMU football player. Jalen, thanks so much for taking the time today.
No problem at all. Thanks for having me.
Of course. So I guess let's start with your last season, kind of a historic year for the team, but also you personally coming into the year. Did you expect that you could have a double-digit sack season and sort of threaten the JMU single season sack record and lead the country in sacks? Were you expecting that kind of opportunity? And how would you assess sort of a historic year for you and the team?
Yeah, I to answer your question, I did kind of, have those expectations coming into the season. My goal, my goals, and I'll tell you a little bit more about those as we keep talking. But I had a certain number of my goals, and I actually passed that number. But I knew also, just coming off of the spring ball and seeing, how well I was playing, how comfortable I felt. And with Isaac Uku, he announced that he was leaving leaving at the time. And after that, I kind of knew expected like, all right, yeah, I'll be, a key factor in the team, and that I kind of had to step it up in my off-season preparation and get ready for the season coming up.
Yeah, yeah. When he transferred to Ole Miss, obviously that sort of opened an opportunity for you. And I think 15 and a half sacks and whatever it was, 9 games, I'd say would qualify as taking advantage of the opportunity. What was the number you had in your head going into the year for sacks or tackles for loss, if you had one?
I just wanted to get double digits. I was cool with 2 sacks, honestly.
You got half that in the Marshall game. I know that was sort of maybe the highlight individual game, at least for fans to remember. Sort of that national spotlight Thursday on ESPN with 5 sacks in a game was pretty unbelievable. What do you remember from that game and that individual performance?
I just remember the week of preparation leading up to that game. I per me personally losing to Marshall at home that the prior season to last season, just really left a bad feeling. And when I was needed extra motivation in working out, I thought back to that game, and I was just really excited that entire week. I was, just I couldn't contain myself, and then we finally got out there. It just happened, and it was a great thing to be a part of. And I just remember being extra focused, extra locked in, doing extra of the extra things that week. And I gotta think back and look back at that as being the reason why that happened.
Is there, I know for like basketball players when they go on a hot streak, they talk about like being in the zone. Is there a zone for a pass rusher in that game where you
Oh
sort of
yeah,
just
yeah. It's just a feeling. You just feel unblockable,
Mhm.
and it's a little bit of an adrenaline rush, and I definitely felt that game.
I know, I think fans coming into the year sort of expected you would have that speed rush, and then certainly you did, but it seemed like you had an array of moves. I know there's one in the Troy game where I think you had a spin move and sort of lit up the quarterback quickly after that. When did you develop all those different pass rushing moves, and how would you sort of describe your style as a rusher?
I think I was able to start fixing together my catalog of moves, and understanding what works for me. Once we got under Coach Kuntz, he came in our first FBS season, and that's kind of where I started to understand his coaching and look at it a little, looking at edge rushing and just having certain moves a little bit different. He just taught us to look at it as in steps, and then you got certain kind of moves. You kind of categorize your speed moves. All speed rushes are at least 4 steps, but then you break it down into the counter moves. You could do a 4-step counter move, 2-step counter move, which just plays with your pace and the footwork of it all. Because really, the footsteps plays a crucial role in the timing aspect of it, as well as very key in pass rushing. And most people probably would give it credit, but getting with Coach Kuntz and just figuring out first, get off in low pad level was probably the first keys to my success. But then you know, realizing I'm a shorter guy, I'm shorter than most of the guys I'm going against. Why not throw some rips in there? And I found a lot of success with the rip move as well, and also some of the counter moves too. But just kind of tapping in and being creative and just drilling that stuff throughout the years. Kind of where you kind of feel good about a move and hey, you just go out there and try it. And, sometimes that's literally all it is just let me just try this move. And, but definitely Coach Kuntz helped me expand with my moves.
Yeah, it's interesting. I was curious, I guess, how much within a game is sort of like pre-planned in terms of like, hey, this lineman maybe isn't great at stopping this move, or how much of it
Oh, yeah.
is it snap to snap at all, where you've got freedom to be like, hey, if it's third and long, I can kind of do whatever move I want, or do they give you some guidance there, coaching wise?
Well, a lot of people, and I'm in the podcast. I like watching a lot of the NFL guys, the things that they have, what they have to say, and a lot of people call it the game within the game. I'm definitely, when I'm matched up against offensive linemen, I'm keeping my mental notebook of what moves I'm hitting, and it's definitely an approach of me trying to set them up and keep them guessing. And to answer your question, I mean, everything's just based off of the play call, and there's certain calls where your assignment might be, you have to rush the edge, and you're not allowed to take a counter move. But I'd be lying. I'd be lying if I, said I didn't take, I didn't, sometimes take that counter move when I wasn't supposed to. Hey, sometimes I got a sack doing that, and if you do get home, no one, can really say anything or be too upset about it. But everyone does have a job, and, everyone does have an assignment that you have to follow. But that is part of the game within the game. You keeping your mental notebook, like I might need to counter on this play, and hopefully, you get home.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, that's fascinating for sure. And I was interested too, because obviously your season was unfortunately cut short with injury, sort of where you stand in the rehab process, I guess what the extent of your injury was and sort of how you've dealt with that physically, but then also mentally, I imagine that was frustrating given the year you had. You're probably gonna flirt with 20 sacks if you didn't get hurt.
Yeah. Well, this the rehab, we're 2 months out. It's going really smooth. I'm first off, I'm very happy with my progress, and a lot of people around me are impressed with some of the things that I'm doing, and just how fast everything's coming back to me. We're not in a place of trying to rush this process at all. It was a knee injury, it was a non-contact knee injury.
Hmm.
But talking to Doc and everything, I'm set to make a full recovery and well, down. I'm well on the way to making that recovery. Just got to keep taking care of it. Attacking rehab every day. And as far as the training aspect of it, I'm doing all of that at JMU. Rehabbing every day and working out, getting the lift in every day too as well. So that's kind of where I'm at as far as those aspect of things.
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. Do you have a
Yeah.
specific timeline in your head of when you can get back to stuff? Is it still, um,
6 to 8.
yeah.
8 months would be May, and then I met with Doc, a couple of nights ago, and he said, just be smart. He wouldn't want me, fully participating in football until 9 months, but 9 months would be August, and that's
Mhm.
right where things start picking up. So, definitely the timeline looks good. Glad we could. I guess the one positive about it happening in the middle of the season is that we were able to have the surgery so fast and
Yeah.
get me going with recovery. But we're reaping those benefits now, and starting to get this thing rolling for sure.
Gotcha. What's that look like at rehab in the early stages? Are you, I guess, able to run it all, or is it still sort of like some really basic stuff? I know it's a major surgery. How do you get back?
Yeah. So, well, how early on are you asking about? Are you asking like the first 2 weeks or?
Yeah, I guess so would you say you're 2 months out now? What does it look like for you right now?
So right now, today actually was my first day in our Alter G machine, which is an anti-gravity machine that
Hmm.
allows you to do. I mean, it's a treadmill, so it allows you to run or jog or whatever the case may be at a certain percentage of your body weight. And today was my first day in there jogging around
Hmm.
on an incline too. That felt really good. I was able to do 60% of my body weight, so not a ton, but still the early stages of it. And, it just felt good to, get a good sweat going, honestly, and, just feel like I'm doing something athletic again, honestly.
Hmm. Yeah, what was I guess the first few weeks then? What were those like? Was there any movement or I know I think people saw you late season at App State with the brace on your leg and things like that and crutches. I guess when were you able to get rid of the crutches, or have you gotten rid of them? What's that process like?
Yeah, so early on, just due to the surgery and the protocol, there was a certain guideline of to where how long I had to be on the crutches, and then
Hmm.
the brace was, pretty much just for safety precautions, just in case, weird step or anything funny. So, that's what a lot of that was for. But the first 2 weeks were, now I'll even say the probably the first 2, 3 weeks was probably, the roughest part of it. Just the post op feeling. um, but early on, what we knew what would help us later on down the road was just how quick I could activate my quad muscle. And I was at home away from whenever I had to do treatment, pumping my quad. And I honestly still might catch myself pumping my quad just to how much I was doing it, just because I didn't, I wanted to make sure we were ahead of this thing. And, I also had to do certain elevations where, that sucked, where I had to have my knee up and isolated,
Yeah.
and it was painful, but, I had to sit through that to, be put in this good position we're in now. So, that's how it was early on. Just a lot of just range of motion stuff, getting the extension back, a lot of the basics, but 2 months out, we're way past that now.
Yeah, no, that's solid. I know you were talking about the recovery and already thinking about camp and certainly have NFL dreams. What's that draft prep look like for you? Obviously a little different than maybe it would have been, but what's it look like in terms of I guess potential interviews with teams and then just getting your body back? What's the next few months look like for that?
Right. Well, I signed with the agent. I'm very happy about who I got representing me. Talking to him, he's dealt with players who have gotten hurt their senior year, and it has worked out. So he's got experience with my case. It definitely is a unique case with me not being able to go traditionally do my draft prep. But I mean, I what in a sense, me being back at JMU, it allows me to kind of control my outlook and my input of how hard I am working and just how I'm looking at it. I mean, it still is my pre-draft process. It's just a little different. I'm back at home, but I'm getting work in every day, and I can control how hard I'm working, and I'm trying to work my ass off. I mean, sorry, excuse my language, but
That's
I've
all
been
right.
wanting to play in the NFL. I mean, that was probably the first thing I ever knew I wanted to do. So, being this close and just knowing I've worked that hard and seeing that it's right there, it allows me to keep the intensity up every day from a motivational point of view, like aspect of things.
Yeah, what have you heard, I guess, from your agent? Obviously, putting 15 and a half sacks on tape in a season is pretty darn good. What is your expected kind of interest? It certainly seems like you'll have a spot to land someone's there. Is that your expectation or goal at this point?
Right. To my understanding, no interest has diminished from any teams.
Mhm.
It's just really a matter of them, wanting to know how I'm doing, how I'm responding to the injury. Will I, be 100%? Will I like when will I be 100%? Because all that stuff matters. And then, I have to, get in front of team doctors and
Yeah.
whatnot, and that just all that stuff to what how it was explained to me is just a matter of if I get invited to the combine or not. But if that doesn't happen, then it'll a lot of that stuff will take place in April before the draft where teams are doing their visits. But
Hmm.
if you're asking for specifics, teams I've heard interest from the Titans, Philadelphia, Cardinals, and there was five other teams. I'm
Hmm.
sorry I can't think of the names off the top of my head right
No,
now.
it's a good problem to have though. You got so many teams, it's hard to remember them all. That's
Yeah,
that's
man.
a
So
positive.
hopefully we can get a good fit going. Teams probably are wondering if I fit in a
Yeah.
4-3 defense better versus a 3-4 defense, and whatever. But hopefully we can get the right fit and get a good situation going.
Yeah, that was my last question for you. I was curious, I guess, which style you think you fit best in the NFL and sort of how you think your game will translate to the next level.
Um, So coming in at good counsel, give you a little bit of back. I mean, I'm sorry, I said good counsel. Coming into James Madison, good counsel is where I went to high school.
Yeah.
We ran more of like a 3-4 operation back in high school where I was, obviously the edge player, but I was standing up in a 2-point stance way more. Coming to JMU, I kind of had to adapt to the more forward down front where I got my hand in the dirt. And it's a little bit different pass rushing and stopping the run from, 2-point versus 3-point. So I say my whole career here, I've just been working on, my ability to stop in the run. And I've of course got better and better each year. And so I say my time at JMU allowed me to get more comfortable and be able to play in a 4-3. I acquired just I guess knowledge or skills, or I don't know what exactly to call it, but I definitely feel a lot more comfortable playing in a four down front. Whereas I always felt comfortable playing in the 3-4. We this season we implemented a lot more 3-4 fronts where they had me standing up in the 2-point, and it was also a lot of it was also mainly because so we could send and create simulated pressures where we're sending people on blitzes, but then they're for what I if for what the ideal situation, ideal defense for me would be a 3-4 defense.
That makes a ton of sense. Yeah, some of those coverages were pretty solid for you. A couple interceptions last
Yeah,
2 years, and the pick six. Yeah, what was that like to have an interception return for a touchdown as a D lineman?
dream come true. That was pretty cool.
That's awesome. That's awesome. All right, last question for real this time, and I will let you go. But I was curious if you had a favorite sack. You've got a lot to choose from, either this season or I guess any time in your JMU career. If there's a favorite sack or play or individual memory that stands out for you.
Okay. Wow. I'll answer my favorite sack because I've never gotten this question. Um, just let me think for a second.
Yeah.
Because I honestly don't know if I have one. I guess the one that I can't stop thinking about since you asked me this was um my last one against South Alabama.
Hmm.
It was I guess the game in not maybe not. I think that was a third down, and then
Yeah.
it was the
Yeah.
last drive of the game.
Yeah.
I think it was third down. The second down, Aiden Fisher I got a PBU or something. I pretty much got a sack, and like that, I mean, they weren't gonna
Yeah.
get
It
the
was,
first down. The game was over with pretty much after that sack. I'd say that was my favorite one.
that's a good one. Yeah, you got the one against Georgia Southern too, where you took off I think the
Oh,
quarterback had to go out.
yeah,
That's a good
dang, I
one.
forgot about that one.
Yeah,
That one was nice too. I don't think that quarterback that's one of his favorite plays. But
I don't think so. Yeah, I wasn't even looking. That was a
yeah,
tough one. Yeah. Awesome. Well, thanks for the time. I appreciate it, and good luck with all the NFL draft prep.
nah, thank you. Thanks for having me.